would you look at this? It's a video and it's not a vlog. So yeah, the past like 7 videos I've put out have all been travel vlogs because coincidentally I've been doing a lot of traveling, and for the first time in a while I actually felt like filming a lot of it, so I decided to do that and put it up. And I hope that if you're used to and prefer these types of videos, that those were just for me and for my friends to remember these memories, and that if you enjoyed them, that's a bonus, but they were really just for us to remember. And now I'm gonna get back into these types of videos. Now, because of all the traveling I've been doing, I was getting so many questions from people saying, how do your parents travel? You're so lucky your parents let you travel. How do you afford this? How do you afford flights? Who do you go with? Like, all these kinds of things. And I was just like, I could make a video pretending that I know every single question there is, or I could just ask you guys and make a travel Q&A sort of video. So that's what this is. So yeah, all the questions I'm gonna be answering are gonna come from this photo here. Wow. This photo here that I put up almost a day ago, and it says there are 35 comments, so I'll probably end up making 2 or 3 parts to this video. Hopefully not 3, I'll try to keep it to 2. So the first question comes from ethical.eva, and she said, how do you feel being on your own when traveling, and how do you handle the stress? So the way that people handle stress and anxiety completely depends on the way you were raised and your own personality. Growing up, I was the youngest of 5 children. I have 4 older brothers, and they had all basically moved out and were moving on. And while a lot of people would think that that would leave more attention for me, it actually just left me being more independent. My parents were busy paying for their college tuitions, making sure everything was going okay for them, and I was left a lot of the time to kind of take care of myself. My parents have always had full-time jobs each. I've never had a stay-at-home parent, so a lot of the time I would be alone. My parents would get home at like 7 p.m. and I would have to make dinner or figure things out, and I especially became more independent at like age 15, 16 when I started doing all my own grocery shopping and driving myself everywhere and paying for a lot more things. So the point of this is that your independence and your ability to handle stress completely depends on the way you were raised. And I was raised to be an incredibly independent person, and that reflects my parents' own independence. So for me, it's easy. I love the challenge. I love being alone. I love being alone with my thoughts and just being able to travel and experience new things without being stuck in the 4 walls of my bedroom. Sometimes though, I do get stressed, and that's totally normal. My friends and I refer to it as the day 3 breakdown, which is basically just like the idea that when you're traveling, even if everything's going perfectly and you're with the best people and you're in the best location and nothing's gone wrong, you're still gonna find something to be upset about or to stress out about, even if it's something as simple as missing your parents or missing the comfort of your bed. I have one on every single trip, and whether it's known or not, it happens. So if you're feeling stressed and you miss your parents, call your parents. If you're having trouble living in the present, meditate or do yoga. If you feel scared or worried like something's gonna go wrong, or you feel overwhelmed with where you are, talk to the people you're with and try to feel very grounded. You can also try going somewhere that would make you feel better. So if you're camping and you feel like you're too much immersed in nature, try to drive a little bit out of the park or wherever you are and find a coffee shop or a grocery store or somewhere just very enclosed to sit down and relax and breathe and talk about it with someone. Never feel like you have to deal with the stress alone, because you never do. Find someone to vent to, and in 30 minutes you'll feel so much better. So the next question comes from NR Linky, and she said, how do you afford traveling so young? Do you plan your travels with friends for sharing money? That question is what I get asked more than anything else. How do I afford it? Well, believe it or not, things like camping and hiking are either free or basically free. All you have to pay for is gas to get to the hiking trail. If you're camping, you might want to borrow a tent from a friend, get some groceries, pay for some gas money, but that's literally it. Camping and hiking are the cheapest things to do. They can create the most wonderful memories, and they're not going to break your bank to do. I don't plan my travels with friends so that we can share the money. That's an added bonus, because I think that if you're traveling with friends, you have no responsibility to cover all of the cost. You should be very honest with money, and I know that's really difficult, but just be like, hey, this is like how much we all have to pitch in for everything. If you have any questions, let me know. And if they fight that, then you don't want to be friends with them. So while I would never say that I travel with friends to share, I travel with them to enjoy the memories and have people to talk to and experience things with. The sharing is an added bonus, and it will make it way easier for you to travel more often and in better ways. Anna JNES said, have you ever struggled to stay vegan while traveling? In this point in my life, No, I've had a fairly easy time, but that's because I'm a really big control freak, so if I'm going camping, I make sure we have more than enough food, just literally an abundance of food. And if I'm gonna be going to the airport, I'll pack protein bars and oranges and bananas, and if I'm gonna be somewhere like London, where I've been in the past, or just in a different city, then I make sure that I find restaurants beforehand that can cater to me. The good thing is that whenever I'm traveling, I'm normally traveling with friends that are vegan, or friends that at the very least will eat vegan with me, so it's not a very big problem for me to find vegan food, because at that point we're all in this together, so if I can't eat, she can't eat, so it's not gonna work. I think the biggest problem I've had with eating vegan while traveling has been in airports. It's really easy in airports that are huge, like Atlanta, which I've never been to, but I've heard is amazing for vegan food, or even like Denver Airport, which I was just at. They had so many vegan options, and not just things you can make vegan, like things that are labeled and already vegan without even having to ask. But sometimes you'll go to smaller airports like the John Wayne Airport in Orange County in California that I was just at, or Philadelphia Airport. The good thing is that there's always a Subway or a burrito place. Burritos are easily made vegan, and Subway, you can get like the Italian bread and just throw a bunch of veggies on there. I know the ingredients in both of those things are not going to be the greatest things, especially if you're following a high carb, low fat, or extremely raw diet, but it's food, it's energy, it's carbs, and to me that's all that matters. I don't have the biggest list of things you have to check off for me to eat something. If it's vegan and it's relatively good for me, I'm down, I'm game, I'm gonna eat it. So yeah, Subway and burrito places are the greatest places for on-the-go food in airports or just in really dingy towns. My friend Jade asked, when are you traveling to Canada to visit me? I am coming to Canada actually this summer. I won't be going to Western Canada where Jade lives, I'm sorry Jade, but I will be coming to more Eastern Canada, so I'll be going to Toronto and some national parks around that area for about a week this summer with my best friend Charlotte. She's going to university in Toronto, so I'll be doing some road tripping with her, dropping her off, and also with our friend Emily Harris. I'm really excited. It's so crazy that Canada is like 8 hours north to cross the border and I've never been. It's gonna be such an adventure and I'm so excited to do it. Emily Goes Green said, do you plan to make a meetup in Germany during your travels in Europe? So as a few of you may know, I was originally going to be traveling Europe all of next year and then coming home and doing like a USA road trip, but 2017 was supposed to be dedicated to Europe. That's not the case anymore. Because of problems with my teeth that I have never been made aware of until now, I'm actually going to be getting braces, which if you've had braces before, you have to be home once a month to get appointments and get them tightened, and that's going to be a minimum of 2 years that I'm going to have those on. So my trip to go to Europe long term has been X'd out and crossed out, and that was difficult to deal with at first, but not so much anymore. But concerning your question about Germany, I will still be coming to Europe probably for a month or two. I can push off like one of the appointments for a little bit. I'll probably be coming for a couple months, and I would love to come to Germany and do a meetup wherever I go, so yes, definitely if I come to Germany I will do a meetup and I really hope I get to meet you. Laura G. Beaumont said, how do you stay motivated to work to earn money if you know you won't be traveling for a while? Sometimes the stress of work makes me forget what I'm doing it for. It's so funny that you say that because it honestly feels like you took it out of my own brain circa like September 2015. I was working so much and I had just gotten a second job and I was working like 30 hours a week plus school, feeling so overwhelmed, and I kept thinking to myself, like, what am I working toward? Like, I know I want to travel next year, but it's such a hazy, distant thing that I'll be doing. I don't even have any ideas on what I'm going to be doing, and it made it really difficult for me. But after I spent a little while kind of stressing out over that and not knowing what I wanted to travel to and what I wanted to do with my life, I started just being like, Jamie, you know what? Let's just plan some of these things, or at least plan short-term travel so that you can feel better about the long term. That's when I started doing things like going to DC, to the DC Veg Fest and blah blah blah, and that was super fun, and I also started to solidify my plans to Europe. Of course, as I just said, those plans are no longer, and that's the thing about long-term traveling is that we want to be able to say, I'm going to be doing this in exactly a year, and it's going to be perfect, and I know exactly what I'm going to be doing, because we all want security and knowledge in our lives, but the reality is that plans change and we're never going to be doing exactly what we think we're going to be doing, and life would be boring if it worked that way anyways. So while I'm not going to Europe long term anymore next year, I have started planning something else, and my biggest tip for this question of how to continue working hard when you don't know exactly what you're doing is just start planning the little things. I would start planning the path of countries I'd be taking and the cities I wanted to stop in. I do research on the cities, and doing this kind of research will make you so excited for the eventual journey, and time is just gonna fly by if you spend your time doing research about it and getting excited. You can also make a bucket list of things you want to do. Macy Catherine said, did you meet all the friends you traveled with online? The answer to that is yes. When I was in Shenandoah National Park camping, I had met all of those people through the internet. And then when I was in California at Yosemite, I met Katie through Instagram. Katie's twin sister I met when I visited Katie last year. And then they brought along their friend Jules from school, who is so funny and amazing and adorable. And I didn't meet her online, but I met all of them because I met someone else online. Sunshine and M said, how do you handle everything when you're traveling? I feel like I would get overwhelmed, so how do you deal with money and everything that goes into traveling? This is the last question I'm going to answer for this part of the Q&A, and my answer is just control it. If you're staying with friends from the internet, talk to them and be like, okay, let's plan what we're gonna do. How much money am I gonna need for this, this, and this? The three main categories you wanna think about are food, transportation, and where you're gonna be staying. If you're staying at someone's house, then X that out, it's free. Food you will have to plan for, obviously, 3 meals a day. Will you be eating stuff from a grocery store? Will you be cooking at the person's house? Will you be going out to dinner, breakfast, and lunch every day? You need to make those decisions. What you decide to do with food is going to be a huge player in what you're doing. And the third category is transportation. Will you be driving in the person's car? If you are, do you need to contribute gas money? Are you going to be taking a subway or an underground way of transportation? How much are those going to cost? And will you be taking a bus or a plane? You need to plan all of those things around your trip. And of course there's like a fourth category I didn't mention of leisure and activities. So will you be visiting museums? Will you be doing bike tours? Like, what are you going to be doing that you have to spend money on? And make sure you do research on the free things you can do in a country. You don't have to spend $1 million to have a good time and see all the sights, and a lot of the time it can be free if you work with the person you're staying with. If the person you're staying with is from that country, odds are they'll know a lot more about what you can do for free, so talk with them and get some ideas. Okay, so I'm gonna try to answer more questions in the next Q&A video. I'm sorry these are gonna be super long, but there are so many questions I've been getting, and I think this is just the best way for me to answer all of them. So I hope that some or any or all of these are just benefiting you in some way. I'm answering them to the best of my ability with the knowledge I have at this point in my life, and yeah. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. So I guess the way I afford to travel regularly is by doing relatively cheap things and saving a lot of money.